everyone. Happy Tuesday. Looks like quite a few people are on. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you're joining me live, comment below, say hi, let me know you're on, and where you're from, where you're listening from. Right now, it is storming outside in Florida. We are getting a storm, not a big storm, nothing that I've heard of yet, but definitely getting some rain and thunder and lightning out there today. So let me know if you're joining me. Let me know where you're from. And then also, if you haven't already, and this is the first time you're coming live or watching one of my live trainings before, make sure to just comment below that, sorry, not comment below, but make sure to actually above, there should be a link. This is the first time you're joining, and click that link, and then I'll allow you for me to see your name as well. So make sure to do that as well. But we're going to get started right away. Again, thank you guys so much for joining. If you are just joining, you haven't joined one of my lives before, my name is Coach Kayla. I am an online plant-based dietitian, nutrition, run coach, and I help plant-based athletes and runners to fuel and train for half marathons and full marathons. So I'm excited to talk about today's topic. Today we're going to talk about all about how to think, fuel, and train like an Olympian. So who here that's on right now watched the Olympics over the past week or so? I think they just ended this weekend. Did you guys watch the Olympics? Hello from Jupiter, Florida. Hello. Welcome. Awesome. Yes, if you watch the Olympics, right, a lot of amazing athletes. The United States took away a ton of gold medals. I think we took away the most gold medals. So we have the most amazing athletes from the United States. And I think there's so much we can learn from them, even if we don't aspire to be an Olympian or, a serious athlete. Some of you may be plant-based and also runners for your health, and that's perfectly fine to do that. I really believe that running and plant-based nutrition can be something that you do for a lifestyle to help with longevity and to help you to just keep on going. I've had clients that are grandparents, and they love just being able to be healthy enough that they can spend time with their grandchildren. So not all of you maybe aspire to be an Olympian, but I think there's so much that we can learn from these athletes when it comes to training. If you are training for a half marathon or full marathon or an ultra marathon, these are all things that we can really learn from to help us. And no matter where we are, no matter where we're at in our journeys. So number one is to hydrate properly, eat carbs, consume adequate energy intake, and prioritize nutrition. So I probably talk about this the most on all of my lives. When I work with clients, right, these are the things that I talk about the most. So hydration is so important. It's important to properly make sure you're hydrating. I've talked a lot about hydration this summer because it has been so hot wherever you are in the United States. It's been really warm. So I've talked about hydration a lot and how important it is, and to also do it properly. I've talked about how water is just not enough. You need to also take electrolytes, take salt pills, and you need to take them during, not just before, not just after as well. So hydrating properly is so huge, and it really does impact. It does impact your performance. Eat carbohydrates. We've talked about this as well. This is where you get your fuel. This is where your muscles get the fuel. So you need to be making sure you're eating carbohydrates. We don't have to worry about that too much. If you are truly plant-based, you're mostly from your diet, you are eating probably 70, 80, could be set up to 70, 80% carbohydrates. I try to have my athletes at least 65%, 60% of their calories coming from carbohydrates. Consume adequate energy intake. This is something else I've always talked about, right? How important it is, especially as runners and when we're training for these longer endurance these events, we need to make sure that we're consuming adequate energy. We don't want to do more harm to our body. So even if we're not, think of ourselves as this amazing athletes. Even if you care about your health, you don't want to do more harm to your body. So it's very important that you consume adequate energy and also prioritizing nutrition, right? We have to make it a priority. It cannot be something that we just push aside and just go through, because I've definitely worked with so many people that are struggling, and so many people that have even tried plant based and they just didn't think it was for them, or just didn't think it went well. And a lot of times there's just something that if they were working with me, we could have tweaked something that could have helped them to stick with it. So that's number one. Number two is to train daily. So for you, maybe as a general runner kind of person, right? Somebody that's not really a big athlete, maybe you don't have time to train daily. And for half marathon, full marathons, ultras are a little bit different. Of course, I think rest is still important, but if you're training for an ultra, you're probably going to run back to back on the weekend. So it's a little bit different. But you don't necessarily have to train daily, but you do need to train. You do need to get out there, right? We can't expect to do well in our event or a race if we're not getting ourselves out there and training. But the most important thing is, if you can't get out there daily, right? And maybe not all your job you may not be a pro runner. Your job may not be to just be able to run. Most of us have busy lives. So you might only be able to do a couple days a week. But with that, what's most important, if that's the case, is to be specific. Be specific in your training and what you're training for. I see a lot of athletes, or at least a lot of runners, and just people training for that either the half or full marathon distance, or even ultras, and they're doing all these extra things that you don't necessarily need to be doing, which is fine if you have the time. But most of us don't have the time. So why do extra if you really want to just train for that race, but do a good job and do well in it, then be specific with your training. Another thing that is also so important, especially for runners, is to build a foundation, then the value. And that's why, if any of you joined my 5-day challenge last week, the first thing we started off with day one was talking about the foundation. You have to build the foundation first. So this is exactly to what my run coach did with me as well. We built the foundation. And even though I was a consistent runner, but I didn't run really super competitively, I wasn't, I would say, consistent, but didn't really have a really good foundation. So we spent a year building that foundation. Then we started increasing volume. So it's so important to have that foundation first. So many athletes think, okay, I'm just going to follow this plan for 12 weeks and be able to run the race. But you may not have been training up to that point. So it is important to build that foundation first. And that also helps to avoid injuries, which is also very important. Number 3, know how and when to push harder or give your body a break. This is something that I really believe it takes time. And I'm sure Olympians are really good at this, because that is their job, right? Their job is their sport. They train all year long, all the time. That is pretty much all they do, right? All they do is focusing on their sport. So it may be a little bit harder for us, and it may take more time. But as you go along in your journey, really, that is something that's so important, is to really learn how to do that. Learn how to push harder, especially if you want to get better, if you want to improve. We want to eventually learn how to push harder, or when we need to give our bodies a break. And especially, right, that goes along with injuries. It's very common to push, when we're new to any sport, we push ourselves harder than we need to, because we don't quite understand our limits, right? And we feel like, oh, we're being lazy if we don't go. But it's so important to listen to your body. I talk a lot. I've been talking a lot. I'm teaching in a class about intuitive eating to clients. And that is something that is part of intuitive eating that I think is really helpful. And you can really learn a lot that can also help you to learn for into running is really listening to our bodies, right? It's so important to listen to it, to understand if you're sick, don't exercise, right? Give your body a break. It's okay. We don't have to push, 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 and then get ourselves injured, right? It's not worth it, especially if it's something. This is something you're doing as a lifestyle and something you want to keep doing for a long time. Then you don't want to keep pushing yourself and breaking yourself. But as I said, be patient because it does take time to listen to your body. Number 4, be positive, motivated, focused, and patient with yourself. I feel like I actually say this a lot to clients as well. Um, to be patient because it really does take time. And a lot of us, we want to be somewhere where we're not yet. And we feel like, we really want to be there. We want to be there faster. I still remember when I told myself, or I committed, I would say actually committed. I hired a coach and I committed and said, I want to train and qualify for the Boston Marathon. This was 2 years ago now, guys. 2 years that I've been on this journey. And I can't believe it's like in 2 months. I'm getting emotional because I can't believe that it is literally almost here. And it has been 2 years in the making of training really hard. Obviously breaks and injury and COVID and all that stuff happened. But definitely has been hard and it's been difficult and challenging, right? To be positive, to stay motivated, and to even just be patient with myself. And that's the biggest thing that I have personally learned in my journey is being patient with myself. And I see this with my clients as well, that they just want to be somewhere so much faster. And I continue to tell them, just be patient, just be patient. I know, trust me, because I don't want you to get injured. I don't want you to not be able to run at all. I've been there. I get it. It's not fun. And being positive is something that I think the Olympians do really, really well at. I went on a 17-mile run last weekend, and I listened to the Olympic podcast to get me through that run and just keep my mind, entertained a little bit because it can be hard when you're running solo that long. And something I recognized or I realized from interview of every Olympian athlete is they were so positive. They were asking about challenges and the way, how, what they thought of or what it was like competing with, other amazing athletes and just getting around the village and all of this stuff. And I couldn't believe how positive they were. They were so positive. And I thought, this is why they are Olympians, because they are so positive. And this is something that I've been really realizing more, at least recently in my life, have just felt like just letting this negativity control and empathy, absorbing other people's negative energy and it's making it mine, or just seeing only the negative things about what was going on in my life and not being positive. And that's something I've definitely been working on, right? Seeing the positive. And that's also something that I work on with my clients is I make sure that they can see the positive. So every time we get on a coaching call with me, the first thing we talk about are the positives. What went well last week? What did you do well? What is a positive from the last week? Because we want to stay in this positive mindset. We can get really, it's easier for us, just the way our makeup of our brains, to always think of the negative. And I can tell you, I do this all the time. It drives me absolutely crazy. I do this because I will, if I'm talking to someone, I do this actually a lot in relationships. When I talk to people, I tend to focus really on the negativity of the relationship and just what the struggles are, what I'm struggling with. And I just realize and have this awareness knowing that man, I don't tell any of the positives. Like, no wonder my mom is like, does she like any of these guys she's with? Because I was always focusing on the negative and never the positive of what I loved about the person or the relationship. Um, so anyways, it's so important, and it really does help with mindset, with training, with running a race, to just be positive, to stay motivated, whatever that is. I know everyone has a different mode of self-motivation. Obviously, I feel like, Olympians, they have to have very strong intrinsic self-motivation. But having a group like this, somebody just said, thanks for allowing me to be part of this group, being a part of this plant-based performance running community, can help motivation, and it hopefully helps too with positivity. I know some people, have said, told me about Strava is that they tend to compare themselves with other runners. But I hope that that isn't the case with this group. I hope that you do look at the positive of it, and use the other people that are in this group that are training hard and that are running far, to motivate you. Because I know you guys motivate me. There are days when I don't want to get out there, when I'm just not feeling it, when I'm just really tired, I'm feeling really exhausted from the week, and I have to get up on a Saturday morning. But when I see Amy is out there and she already ran her 10-mile run and her 10-mile bike ride, I'm like, okay, if Amy did it, then I can do it too. So hopefully you do use this group as a bit of motivation as well. And it's just a free group. You can be a part of it. So hopefully you guys, are using this group to your benefit. And also focused. It's also important to focus. I Let's see, I can give you guys an example of this too. I used to do so many different activities. I used to be in band. I used to run. I used to be on sport teams. I used to go to work. I used to do, gosh, I don't know. I just felt like I would did so much at one time. I used to do so many things, and I never felt like I was ever focused on one thing and really put my all into it. And that's just something, kind of my personal journey, have just been going through, and realizing that with running, I've decided that is my thing. I just want to focus on this one thing and get really good at it. Same thing with my business. I've decided that I wanted to focus on working with plant-based runners, and I wanted to focus on that. So that is my thing. So hopefully when you guys think of, if somebody asks about, oh, I really need help with plant-based nutrition and they're a runner, hopefully you think of Coach Kayla. So I think that can be really helpful too with training, is to, to be focused and know, like, when you go on your runs, just focus on that. Don't focus on anything else. Just focus on that. That's how the greatest runners and athletes, they do it. They're positive. They stay motivated. They stay focused, and they also stay patient with themselves. Number 5, lastly, is prioritize rest and recovery. We also talk about this a lot, how important it is not just to, part of the process of training isn't just about training. It isn't just about nutrition. It's also about rest and recovery. Especially, again, injuries, right? When we don't give ourselves rest and recovery, and it should be part of the plan. I know a lot of people that, really do feel like they are lazy, or, rest day is bad, just like they think certain foods are bad. They think rest days are bad, and they can't give themselves rest. But it's so important, especially if you are doing some kind of serious training, like training for a half or full marathon, because it takes a lot of it takes a commitment, and it takes time, but it takes a lot of energy. And it's very important that you make sure to rest and recover so you don't get injured, you don't harm yourself, right? You want to continue to run. So it's really important to prioritize that. Make sure that that is part of the process and part of your plan. And you take time to rest, you take time to get at least 8 hours of sleep. You take time to for that recovery, and that could look different. It could just be making sure to eat well balanced meals. Some people's recovery may look like, going to the chiropractor, or getting a massage, right? It can look very different. but it doesn't always necessarily mean those things either. But it is important to make sure to be focusing on that. So to summarize all of that today, number one, how to think, fuel, and train like an Olympian. Number one is hydrate properly, eat carbs, consume adequate energy intake, and prioritize nutrition. Number two is to train daily, be specific, build a foundation, and then your volume. Number three, know how and when to push your body and when to take rest, when to give your body a break. Number four, be positive, motivated, stay focused, and most of all, stay patient with yourself. Number five, prioritize rest and recovery. So with that, does anyone have any questions? I do see somebody shared a story. Thank you so much. Let me just share this. So hopefully everybody can see this. So little of my story. For 17 and a half years, I dealt with multiple life-threatening health issues. On more than one occasion, I was given 24 hours to live. I went from running marathons to having a hard time getting out of a chair. In November 2019, with my weight to 112 pounds, living up a feeding tube and unable to speak, I was given 2 weeks to live. On November 3rd, 2019, I experienced what my medical team can only describe as a miracle. My body overcame all my health issues. That is amazing. I don't know why I can't see the rest of it. It might be too long. I'll have to read the rest of your story. But that's amazing story that you were able to overcome that. I would love to know more about that. If it had more to do with, your mind, that is something actually that there's a documentary that just came out. And I watched bits and pieces of it. I think it's called Mind Over Matter. Has anyone heard of that? I don't know if it's new or not. I just know that it's on Netflix. Someone told us about it. And it's just crazy. So your story is reminding me of that, how powerful our minds are. And that has been just something I've been personally just getting more into and learning more about how powerful our minds are, which is why I talk about mindset, all of that a lot of times, I think, because in my personal journey, that is something where it's probably the biggest thing that I like to improve on. I've always been, always had great physical health. But, the mental health has always been a struggle, and everyone has their own struggles, right? Some people struggle with both physical and mental health. But what's important is being able to figure out how to have a healthy a balance, right? Healthy physical body, but also a healthy mind. It's definitely so important. I've just heard so many stories and how powerful our minds are, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's definitely all connected for sure. And then somebody, it looks like they added a number 6 to the tips that I just gave is love what you do. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that goes into a lot with motivation, which I think I've talked a little bit about as well before, is so important to, part of your motivation is loving what you do, because you're not going to be self-motivated to do anything if you don't love it. And I always tell people, if you don't like to run, and if you're doing it for, weight loss or for your health, and you don't like it, don't do it. Find something else, an activity that you enjoy to do, because that's all that's really important is for your mental health and your physical health, is to just move your body. And there's so many different activities, so many different things we can do. And I know some people that, just absolutely love yoga, and they would never run, or, they love strength training and they would never be runners, but they're still fit and healthy and all of that stuff. So definitely important to definitely love what you do. Absolutely. And motivation and resiliency. Yes, absolutely. Those are also very important tips. You definitely need those as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This will also be on the podcast as well, so you can also find it there, as well as YouTube. So check out my YouTube channel as well. I post all the videos there. So if you ever miss any of these videos, you're welcome to watch the replay either in the Facebook group, my business page, or on YouTube, or check us out also on the podcast if you'd like to listen and take me on your runs or on your drive to work. You can also do that as well. Other than that, the only other announcement I have for today is that we are doing a new challenge in the Facebook group. We're going to be focusing on stretching and foam rolling. This is something that's been requested, and a lot of people say that that's something that they like to work on and need more motivation and reminders to do that. So we're going to do that challenge this month. So just check out the polls. You don't have to sign up or anything. Just check out the polls, and hopefully you'll join us in our fun challenge. As always, I'll be giving away as well prizes as well. So definitely check that out and join us for that. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weeks. And if there's anything at all that I can do for you, please let me know. If you have any questions or anything I can do for you, you know how to reach me either on Facebook, Instagram, email. Those are all the ways that you can reach out to me. If you do have any questions at all or would like to learn more about how you can work more with me, we can also set up a call as well to talk more about that as well. So other than that, again, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Bye.